There we go. It's better. The buttons are very touchy today. Hey everyone, welcome to Keeping It Real. It's Nikki Shelton, and I'm with Carrie Selby with Fairway Mortgage. Carrie, how are you doing today?
Real good, thank you.
Good. So I always like talking about the Washington weather because I'm actually in Nebraska this week, and it has been in the 70s and 80s and been absolutely gorgeous. I'm so happy. Everybody here's complaining because there's no rain. And then I look back at home and say, oh, so glad I'm missing that right now. And you're going to California, and you're going to get some sun there too.
Yes. So I'll enjoy some sunshine.
Yeah, sunshine always makes the world a little bit better. So today we're going to talk about something that's been kind of coming up. There's a lawsuit going on right now, and it's between, and I'm not going to say names. You can find it. You can look it up on Google. But it's between our Northwest MLS and one of the other brokerages up there. And, have you watched Selling Sunset ever? Maybe she froze. I think you froze, Carrie. Anyway, if you've ever watched that movie, Selling Sunset, or it's a series calling Selling Sunset, it's about
like this. I don't know what's wrong with my internet.
Okay, I think you froze. Are you back? You're freezing. Okay, I'm going to continue popping if you can get in and out. Sound good? Hopefully she can hear me. Okay, so anyway, Selling Sunset is kind of this Netflix series. I think it's on Netflix still. Anyway, they are, it's like this big brokerage. It's a very exclusive brokerage in California, and they do these really, really high-end homes. And a lot of times they will have exclusive listings where they, or it would appear to me that they have private exclusive listings because they'll have they'll do like an open house for the members of their firm and do something like that where, it's just marketed to their other brokers. And so I've always found that kind of interesting because, it seems like it's just like I would think you would want as many people as you can see, the listing coming in. And to me, that seemed very limiting. But again, if you have a bunch of really big, players that have those type of clients, and that's kind of like your forte, I could see where it makes sense. And I can see some other instances where it would make sense. I think it depends on your seller. That's my honest opinion. So anyway, I have a little slideshow today. Hi, Carrie. I think you're back now. I can see you moving. Okay. So anyway, we have a little slideshow. Of course we do. And we're talking about ones that are coming on the market and, again, the private exclusive listings. And so really what it is, a private exclusive listing, is it's a listing that is being held within your own brokerage, and it's being marketed to the other brokers in there. And there's quite a few reasons, like I said, that someone might want to do that. And some of the reasons that the brokerages really want to have this happening. And Carrie, if you have anything to jump in, go ahead and just go ahead and do it. But yeah. So the first one, why would a seller want to go private? And, sometimes like if you kind of wanted to, I guess I would look at it like one of our brokers open houses. Like when you first put a home on the market, maybe there's not a lot of comps or something for it. You put it on the market, the price you think it's going to be at, and then you have a broker's open house but it's not just one brokerage, and that's the difference here. So when I say broker's open house, I'm talking about all the brokerages are invited to this. This is a very transparent, very open, fair MLS, in my opinion. But you might run it by some other brokers, and that's kind of what a broker's open house would be, to kind of, how is the price point? Do you have any questions? Is there any something wrong with the house that maybe we should look at in more detail? Or do you like curb appeal good? You can get questions like that answered during these brokers open houses. So they kind of quit doing them during COVID, I know, locally here in Kitsap, but they're starting to come back again. And I do find that they're very helpful sometimes to kind of get some feedback and to also just kind of give a preview of what the home is. So I can see why, maybe if you had a brokerage and you had like I said, kind of a unique home, usually they're more luxury and exclusive, kind of unique home, where, maybe you'd want to, throw it past some other brokers before you go out and hit the market. So to test that would be, I think, a good way. To create excitement is another reason. Maybe you have a, really, famous person that you're doing, and they want to have, their privacy protected. They don't want everyone to know they're selling their home. Could be another reason. Flexibility showing is another reason. So just, there are reasons that you might want to do it. And I think that a seller should have that option. So I don't necessarily disagree with that statement, like they should never do it, but you kind of got to figure out how you're going to make it fair or whatever. So, and then there's other parts of where it kind of comes into some issues. So, some of the pitfalls of this too. We must talk about the pros and the cons, right? So let's do that. So, the brokerage that is doing that, though, if they get a buyer and seller, they're going to get both ends of the deal. So it's definitely a benefit also on the broker side of it. So it's a huge benefit for the brokerages to get both sides of that, because it boosts their sales up and pushes them high in the ranking and, that kind of stuff. So also, if you have a bunch of high end, kind of like I was saying, selling sunset, like if you have that type of clientele, then yes, you're going to attract more of that because, they have these exclusive high-end parties and I want to have part of that. And it's kind of this elite status. So there's reasons, but there's also a lot of pitfalls. And this is this is why I don't think this is a good route for like your average home seller. Some of them are, you get less exposure and you have a lot less buyers because you're only showing it to that brokerages. You're not showing it to everybody out there. You're not showing it to Zillow. You're not showing it to everybody on Realtor. You're not showing it to all the brokerages that are out there. Your Windermere's, John L. Scott's, your Reals, your EXPs. You're not showing it to any of those. You're just showing it to just one particular brokerage. So it's really limiting who you did. I actually just saw, I'm on a bunch of networking groups, real estate networking groups, and someone was telling the story where they had a seller was trying to sell their house, and they went through this, like the really exclusive listing one, and they didn't sell it. They weren't even getting full price offers. They put it on the market and got offered over $100,000 over asking price for this home because it opened up the field that much more, and there was competition at that point, and it increased the price. So, the seller could have lost out on a lot of money there. So, again, story I heard, not me, but a good one to know. But it does happen, and it's like the more people that are coming in to look at your home, the chances are of competitive bids and pushing that price up and getting a higher value. So, those are some big ones. You obviously might not get full price. And there's also, if you limit who's watching it, there's also fair housing concerns. So there's quite a few different issues on why you might not want to do that and why it doesn't make sense. Buyers, again, there's pros and there's cons. If you are working with that particular agency who's doing the private exclusive showings, you might get first dibs over somebody else on the market who isn't. You might have less competition. You might have to pay a little bit less. You might have a little bit of negotiation because they don't know there's other people willing to pay that price out there, so they might be willing to take it. The cons, though, you have usually limited time to act. Usually it's like one day as you have to get it into the market or onto the MLS and stuff. So there's a timeline that you have to do that. So you have to act very quickly. You have to know what you want right away. It's hard to compare pricing sometimes because if it's like a unique home, you don't really have a chance to see other homes like that. And there's a lot less transparency. Carrie, anything to add?
I've been so patient because I don't want to, with the delay, I don't want to interrupt you. But
okay,
yeah, I've
throw it out.
Go. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I've watched that show too, and they always have. It's more just like the exclusive properties seem to have those private showings, and they always seem to have just a whole handful of people that have millions of dollars just to spend. Apparently.
And then they get very stressed out because they're not selling. So
exactly.
So now we're going to talk about a little bit how your lender can help you. So how would a lender help in this situation? I'll let you take it from this part.
Yeah, definitely. We've talked about this time and time again, that if you speak with a lender first, you're going to go into a situation with a pre-approval. A lot of companies, exactly like mine, will underwrite your file before you even go out shopping. So it makes it even more of a solid offer. And sellers are definitely going to want to take less of a risk. So they're going to look at somebody who's pre-approved first. And we can also find different, creative financing solutions to, like, maybe you're exiting a home and you need funds from that home. There's bridge loans have come back. So there's always a way that we can work around things as well.
Perfect. So again, the main thing is make sure you're prepared.
Yes.
It's so important to be prepared in this market. Okay. So this is the best use cases. Again, if it's a, like a higher end home, I mean, and I'm talking about not just like $1 million or 2 or 3, but I'm talking about maybe like, I don't know, 7, 8, 10, 12, up to whatever. I mean, some of them are crazy out there. But I mean, something that's really kind of not your average home, but something that's more unique and stuff like that, where it might be harder to come up with pricing. I think maybe that might make sense sometimes. I do think the brokers opens could be beneficial for that. I don't know if a company needs to have that exclusivity, but we can talk more about that in closing remarks. If it's a divorce or something where you really don't want that information out there, although it's going to be public record at some point, maybe you want to keep that kind of hush hush. So maybe that might be a situation. If you're just kind of testing what the pricing is going to be on it, and you don't necessarily want to go full out there until you're more sure, that might be a reason too, if it's kind of like, again, a unique home. Hot markets where they sell really fast. I mean, I think if we look back like 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, things were flat to shelf. I think that would have been a great idea to have that. I mean, because it would help, your company so much. But again, I'm saying your company and not necessarily the buyer or seller. Because I do think that, I do think it's kind of the other way. Anyway, okay. Anything to add there?
Nope.
Perfect. So final thoughts. This is kind of where I'm going to let you talk, Carrie.
No, I mean, I think that it does definitely have its benefits, but I can see where it's also discrimination in a way, because you're not opening it up to the general public. You mentioned how the brokerage gets to make money on both ends of it. So you're kind of excluding other groups of people from being able to bring their buyers and see the home and be able to make money for their family as well. So I can definitely see why there are lawsuits and why people want it to be more open.
Mm-hmm. And I guess my thought on it is if it was like a super, super high end, a famous person, you know what I mean? Or somebody like a home that was so unique that you really can't find comps. I could see maybe doing something like that for, a day kind of thing or something. But I don't think that it should be like, I don't think offers should be able, like you could go and price it and see if you could get offers but that you wouldn't be able to accept it until after the fact or something, because I really do truly believe that to be fair and to give everybody a shot and to get the best value for the sellers, to really, because that's who you're working for as a broker. You're working for your seller. And so if you're working for your seller, you want to get the highest dollar amount. It's not for your brokerage. It's your job is to your seller, to your buyer, and that's to negotiate and get the best price and the best terms. So I think that I like the way that our Northwest MLS does it. I really don't like the idea of exclusive listings, that are out there like that, because I don't know. I thought they're kind of like someone like a pocket listing. You're just not supposed to have them. So, it's not something you kind of keep in your back pocket and go, oh, here you go. I'll give it to my buddies. You really need to, I think to be fair about it, you need to have it out there all over the place. So that's my 2 cents for today.
I agree.
Okay. You guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. We love to see you. We'll see you next week. If you have questions, feel free to bring them on. If you have topics you'd like to hear, I would love to have some topics that maybe I'm not knowing it or important that other people are thinking. I'd really like to hear more about this. Reach out to me. Give me a text, send me a text, give me a call. My phone number's all over the place. You know how to get hold of me. Get hold of me. Let's talk. Okay. Thanks so much for joining us. And we will see you next time. Next week, same time, same place.